Hey guys, how's it going? So today I have a Rhys Redeem tutorial. This is one of my favorite commanders out there, and if you like playing token decks or elf decks, this might be the perfect one for you. So today we're gonna be talking about this deck, and just to introduce it off, Rhys Redeemed. 1 mana, you can either pay a green or a white, and for 2 colorless and a green or a white, you can tap it to put a 1/1 green white elf warrior creature token into play, or you can use this other ability. You could pay 4 and 2 green or 2 white, or 1 green and 1 white, and tap it. And for each creature token you control, you can put a token to play that's a copy of that creature. So let's say if you have 12 tokens out, you can double it to 24. So it's a really fast deck in that sense. So in this deck, I'm gonna have 22 creatures, and some of them are for producing mana. Some of them are for some just a little control of protection. We're gonna start off with the mana producing ones. So I'm just gonna quickly go over these. You can pause the video to read the description, because some of you guys might be familiar with these. But if there's anything that I kind of want to talk about, I'll talk about it. Elvish Harbinger, what I use this for is to just search for a mana producer such as Jiraga Tree Speaker. And Jiraga Tree Speaker, you level it up to produce a mana. So when you level it up to level 1 through 4, it can tap to produce 2 green mana. And then when it's level 5 and above, elves have the ability to tap and produce 2 green to the mana pool. So that's just a quick way to get some mana. Carrion Ranger, I use this to bounce back islands and untap, or bounce back forests and untap Rhys Redeemed, just because sometimes I might not have the mana to play, and this will allow me to play my land drop while making utility of it. Land War Elves, tap to produce 1 green. Elvish Archdruid, awesome card. Not only does it tap for mana, but it gives you +1/+1 for all the other elf creatures you control. Wirewood Channeler, another mana producer. Same with Priest of Titania, except for Priest of Titania, if you're playing against another elf deck, this is just awesome because it counts their elves that they control too. Immaculate Magistrate is for +1/+1 counters. Same with Jiraga Warcaller. Elvish Champion. Wiltleaf Liege. Kind of a tongue twister, sorry. So this one actually ends up pumping your tokens up for +2/+2 because your elf warrior tokens are actually green and white. This one's kind of for reach in case if something big is flying my way, but mainly I use it just to produce +1/+1 for my elf creatures. I guess not produce, but it just gives them +1/+1, and whenever it attacks, you gain 1 life for each attacking elf you control, so that's pretty awesome when you're in those tight situations. Voice of Resurgence is a real MVP sometimes, because whenever an opponent casts a spell during your turn, or whenever it dies, you can put a green-white elemental creature token onto the battlefield. And the awesome thing is, those elemental creature tokens have the, I guess, wording of this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. So if you have 50 creatures on the field, they're 50/50 tokens, and you can also double those with Rhys Redeemed. Craterhoof Behemoth. A lot of people run this just because it's a great way to kind of end the game. So when it enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain trample and +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So usually I wait until like maybe I have 10 to 15 tokens out in the field, and I just swing in. I can usually kill one of the player in the pod. Azuri, you can regenerate or pump and give your elves trample. Perius Perfect, it's also another creature that I use to do the +1/+1, but also I can also produce the 1/1 green elf warrior token creatures and put them into play. But remember that this is just a green elf warrior opposed to normal green white elf warriors that you would produce with Rhys redeemed. Marred Handress just protects my tokens from damage. Gives my tokens and other elves force walk, just so my creatures can't be countered. Gives my creatures indestructible, so when someone tries to, let's say, flood the field and board wipe, my creatures can at least not die. Guaranteed for some control. Non-creature spells with converted mana cost 4 or greater can't be played, and non-creature spells with X in their mana cost can't be played. When you play this, kinda be mindful that this also affects you. So make sure that you have whatever you need out first before you play it. And Seedborn Muse. Untap all permanents you control during each player's untap step. So that includes lands, creatures, artifacts, whatever else. I think this is a real MVP for this deck, because that means during each of your opponent's phases, you can double your tokens or produce more tokens, whichever you need to do. Next, we'll be moving on to the Sorceries. Elvish Promenade. Put a 1/1 elf warrior creature token into play for each elf you control. Pretty self-explanatory. Overrun, just to pump my creatures and give them trample. Shamanic Revelation. You can draw a card for each creature you control, so there will be some key pieces to combo off with this deck, and this will definitely help you get there. Since I personally don't run a lot of card draw other than this. And it also has, you gain 4 life for each creature you control with the power 4 or greater. So if you're stuck in a tough spot, great way to boost up your life. Explosive Vegetation. Search your library for 2 basic land cards and put them into play tap. I think this is really useful whenever you're mana screwed. Natural Order. Use this to search for an Archdruid or any other mana producers. Same with the Green Sun Zenith. Actually, sometimes Natural Order, you sack a token, put a Crater Hoof Behemoth out, and that could be a game winner. Green Sun Zenith, you could do that too if you have enough mana to do it. I believe Crater Hoof is almost a 10 mana, so you might need 11. And Phyrexian Rebirth. Destroy all creatures and put an XX colors horror artifact creature token into the battlefield where X is the number of creatures destroyed this way. And the reason why I run this, a lot of people say is counterproductive, but if you're also going against another token deck or a deck where someone has just flooded the board with hardcore control, such as stacks, this will help remove all of those creatures that do that, and you can double these tokens too with Rhys Redeemed. So there's 7 sorceries. Next we'll be moving on to 6 instants. Silence. I use this when I'm about to combo off, just so I can't be countered. Enlightened Tutored. Search for an artifact or enchantment and put it on top of your deck and shuffle your library. Pretty much the same thing. Worldly Tutor, except this is for creature cards only. Second Harvest. For each token you control, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that permanent. So the last card that I showed you, I believe it was Elvish Promenade. Whenever I have enough token to play the Elvish Promenade and the Second Harvest, I pretty much just quadrupled the amount of tokens I had in the field. Secure the Waste. Amazing card, especially when you have a bunch of 1/1 elves out, and then you have one of those mana producers such as the Elvish Archdruid. You can use that green mana to pay X, and all you have to do is pay 1 more white, so it just helps you flood the field even more. Crop Rotation. As you guys will see later, I do run a Gaia's Cradle in this deck, so I can sacrifice a land and I can search my library for the Gaia's Cradle, or if I need a white mana and I don't have any white mana producers on the field, then I'll search for that. But a lot of times it's for the Gaia's Cradle. I have 13 enchantments in this deck, or shards. This allows my creatures to destroy a artifact or enchantment every time one comes out, and it's really useful for token decks because if you double it and they have like 3 enchantments or artifacts on the field, then you can destroy however many you produce with the token. So if you produce 3 tokens, you can destroy 3 of them. Key card against stacks. The reason why I keep bringing it up is because one of my friends has a stack deck. It's kind of annoying. Banishing Light. Exile target 9-land permanent opponent controls until it leaves the field, kind of like an Oblivion Ring. I believe I also have an Oblivion Ring in this deck. Maybe not. Sterling Grove. Enchantments you control can't be the target's spells or abilities, and the reason why that's important is because you'll be playing cards such as Doubling Season. And what Doubling Season does is pretty much doubles the amount of tokens or counters or whatever else that goes onto your creatures. Epic Struggle. A game winner. It's kind of a stupid game winner, but at the beginning of your upkeep, if you can control 20 or more creatures, you win the game. Sylvan Library. One of the other card drawers that I have in this deck. It's kind of painful to play this sometimes, because every card every additional card you take other than the first one, it costs you 2 life, or actually costs 4 life, and that builds up very fast. Primal Vigor. Doubles the tokens and the +1/+1 counters. Intangible Virtue. Give all the creature tokens +1/+1. The Oblivion Ring that I was talking about. Cathar's Crusade. +1/+1 for whenever another creature enters the battlefield. So once again, this also builds up fast because you produce a lot of tokens. Heart Scales. Doubles +1/+1. Parallel Lives. Doubles tokens. Cryptolith Rite. I put this in just because, once again, if you have mana problems, you can tap your creature to produce 1 mana of any color. And we have the artifacts. I run 13 of them. Sensei's Divining Top. Use this to kind of search through my deck for the pieces that I need to win. Selesnya Cluestone. Use this to produce mana as a mana rock. Gilded Lotus. Another mana rock. Mana Vault. Mana rock. Mana Crypt. Mana rock. Soul Ring. Mana rock. Chromatic Lantern. Mana rock. And also Mana Fixer. So that's why you'll see I only run on 5 planes, because I actually don't need that many when I have this on the field, and I don't have that many cards that actually need it. Illusionist Bracers. Equip this to Rhys, and whenever an ability of equipped creature is activated, if it is a mana ability, copy that ability, and you can choose new targets with copy, but you usually just use this to kind of quadruple the tokens, you could say. So if you have 12 tokens on the field, becomes 24, and then you copy it, 48. Use this to produce more tokens as well. So whenever you play an activated ability, if it isn't a mana ability, you can pay 2. If you do, you can copy it. 1,000-Year Elixir. It gives, I guess, Rhys haste in case if it dies, and you get to untap it. So I would usually either attach this onto Rhys, or I would attach it onto a mana producer to be able to produce more. Umbral Mantle. So we're going to be, I guess, hitting the main things that I want to talk about, the combo pieces. So with Umbral Mantle, you pay 3, and the equipped creature has, you could pay 3 mana, and you can untap that creature and it gets +2 until end of turn. But the awesome thing you can do is you can have Rhys on the field and have either Priest of Titania, Wirewood Channeler, or Elvish Archdruid out. And if you have the sufficient amount of tokens or elves on the battlefield, this will get you to where you need to be, because what happens is you would, let's say, tap this and produces like 10 mana. you use 3 of that mana to attach onto that. So it would be normally tapped, equip, pay the 3, untap, 6 mana, then you would tap this again. Then you would have an additional however many mana, I said 10 mana I believe. Untap, retap, you get infinite mana, correct? Right. Then you would move this on to Rhys Redeem. You would do the same thing. You would tap, untap, tap, untap. Since you have infinite mana, you can produce infinite tokens with Umbral Mantle. And the same would go for this next upcoming card, Staff of Domination. 3 mana to play it. You could pay 1 to untap it. You can pay 2 to tap and gain 1 life. You can pay 3 to untap target creature, pay 4 to tap target creature, or pay 5 to draw a card. Usually you would aim for the 3 mana cost and 1 mana cost. You tap this and pay 3 mana to untap the Elvish Archdruid. You would tap the Elvish Archdruid, produce a mana, pay the 1 to untap it, then just pretty much do this back and forth, and then you would use it on Rhys once you have the infinite mana. So that's one of my main win conditions I always try to go to. But if it doesn't work, Crater Hoof and the rest of them are always there for me, such as Coat of Arms. This is great, but also effects for your opponent. Each creature gets a +1/+1 counter for each other creature in play of the same creature type. So this whole deck is pretty much elves. They would get a +1/+1 for each elf on the field. Some things I have to kind of protect it and speed this up. Eldrazi Monument. Your creatures get +1/+1. Flying in are indestructible, so you kind of just use this to swing into your opponents. And since they have indestructible, they also can't be wiped off. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you sacrifice a creature. If you can't sacrifice a creature, then you have to sacrifice Eldrazi Monument. Not a problem at all, because usually you have so many tokens out on the battlefield, and when you double them, losing one isn't that big of a deal. Nexachroma's Memorial. Creatures you control have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, protection from black, and protection from red. Protection from black and red is just a bonus, but usually all you care about is the other things. And then Mirari's Wake. Creatures you control have +1/+1, and whenever you tap a land for mana, you can add 1 mana to your mana pool for any type of land that produced. And Winter Orb, just for control, you don't need your lands once you have your Elvish Archdruid and everything out, because if your opponents can only untap 1 land, I don't think they have anything that they can use to wipe that off. Last but not least is my mana base. I run 5 planes, as I said before. I believe I run 15 forests. There's 5, 10, yep, 15. 15 of those. And then the other ones are such as Dual Lands, Savannah, Wooded Bastion, Sun Petal Grove, Canopy Vista, Fortified Village, Temple Garden, Windswept Heath, Command Tower. Essential for, I would say, any deck that is dual color, tricolored. There's no quad color, but there is a quad color commander coming out, and 5 color commanders. This just allows you to fix your mana. Wirewood Lodge, used to untap target elf for Rhys Redeemed. Gavany Township, mainly used for its second ability, which is 2 a green and a white, and you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Oran Reef the Vastwood, once again, also used for the +1/+1 counters. Yavimaya Hollow, regenerate target creature, Rhys Redeemed, or any other creature that's essential to your board. Reliquary Tower, when you use Shamanic Revelation, you'll usually be drawing a lot of cards. This way you don't have to discard your cards at the end of the end step. last but not least, Guy's Cradle. And what a Guy's Cradle is used for is just to produce a bunch of mana, because you'll be producing a bunch of tokens with Rhys Redeemed. Guy's Cradle is perfect for that because it'll match the amount of tokens or creatures that you have on the field. So yeah, that is my deck tech for Rhys Redeemed. I might have another deck tech coming out soon. I'm not sure. I don't want to really release any deck techs out that are unfinished decks. I'm pretty confident on my Rhys deck, so that's why I have the tutorial out now. And please like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more content such as this. I will also be doing a booster box opening soon once Kaladesh comes out. And yeah, there will be future deck techs for sure. I've been working on some decks. It won't be simply just EDH. I've been working on a modern deck and also possibly standard too. I'm not as big of a standard player, but if you guys have requests, I will try to make the deck and put it out there. So yeah, thank you guys for watching.